Hello everyone, I'm Tomato. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be a small tutorial for the few. I'm going to go over a few things, like what some of these windows mean, why you should keep these numbers pretty high, what that is, it's a clock by the way, what all these little buildings and tiny strips of dirt are, what these cloud-like things that aren't clouds are, and what's on these tabs, as well as some slightly advanced moderately advanced combat techniques, I guess. Something more advanced than throwing your planes blindly at the enemy and hoping they don't die. Which seems to be a... yeah. Anyway. Alright, so welcome to the few. On this page, over here, we'll start with the info windows. You have most of your general stats. How well you're doing so far. How much you're making per day. It's about 500 pounds per day. Or 500,000 pounds. What your kill to death ratio is, 1 to 14. You want to have a very, very good kill to death ratio, because you don't have that many planes. This is your enemy attacks intensity. This little red bar will fill up this black bar. And that will, as this little red bar gets more, the enemy will throw more and more people at you. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed at day 3, that much of the bar is filled. And you probably need a lot more aircraft. This is how many bombs have been dropped. I don't actually know what this means because I'm just too good at shooting down bombers to figure it out. This is your production efficiency. If your factories get damaged, your production efficiency will drop and you'll have to spend more money to build the same things. Alright. This next tab, your inventory. This is pretty much stuff that you have that you can place onto the map over here. These would go in order as airstrips, air bases, or airfields, air bases, AA guns, radars, and factories. Alright, so you may be asking yourself, what the hell do all these things do? Well, an airfield and an airbase are basically the same thing, except an airbase can hold 3 squadrons as opposed to an airfield holding 1 squadron. I'll go over what a squadron is later. An AA gun does small amounts of damage to enemies as they fly over them, and can be useful in some areas if you don't really have planes to spare, but you kinda need to defend the area. Don't use them to defend key locations, though. So, say, don't defend London with nothing but flak batteries. Or, I mean, anti-aircraft batteries. Same thing. But don't defend them only with that, because some planes will get through, and they will then proceed to bomb the crap out of London. But say, your factory's over here, and you don't really have that many squadrons over here, just place a flak gun here, one here, one here, one here, one here. So when the bombers come over from Norway and try and hit you, you know, they at least get roughed up a bit, and then you can bring your guys in. This is a radar. You can see them right here. You place them along the coast, and up here along this coast, and they'll detect aircraft coming in. It's very useful, so that you can do things like keep your squadron sitting down, so they don't have to scramble and be searching for enemy aircraft all the time. Helps them conserve fuel, helps them stay rearmed and fit, and it really just helps in general to keep your planes safe. This is a factory. You can see it up here. This is where all your stuff will be made, and also it is what allows you to keep playing the game. As long as you have one in existence, you can play the game. But if that one factory gets completely and totally destroyed, and you don't have a factory lying in your inventory, you lose the entire Battle of Britain. Because everyone knows the Battle of Britain hinged on their factories. Alright, this is your squadrons tab. It'll show you all the squadrons you currently have. For me, this would be the 603rd over here in Warmwell. I don't know where these guys are. I think the 64th over here and the 312th in here. And the 242nd training squad up here, which isn't really a training squad, but that's what I like to call them. Alright. And then your enemy information, which will give you a basic idea of what kind of hell you'll be going through the next day. Such as, here's what we'll be facing. There are 22 ME-109s which could engage us, 3 Junkers Ju-88s, which are Stuka dive bombers, and these are Heinkel HE-111 bombers. They're basic medium bombers, pretty easy to kill with some advanced hurricanes. Alright, and so that's what all of those tabs are. And you can also get things like information on the... This will give you a very good rundown of what the plane can do, such as how far it can turn, how many bombs it carries, how much ammunition it carries, what its defenses are, how fast it goes, and where the guns point. You can also get information on things like the Stuka and the Messerschmitt. So if you're ever feeling mildly confused about anything, or even if you just don't know, or if someone calls you out on something, just look it up here. Everything you need to know is in there about planes. Alright, so let's move on to how I've set up my bases. I've set up my bases in a certain way, actually. And you'll notice, you probably won't notice it unless I explain it to you, so I'll go ahead and do that. You'll notice here's my radar. It's sitting here at Eastbourne, I think. Right? It's right near Brighton. And it's here to detect aircraft that are about out that far. Well, radar are very susceptible to enemy aircraft attacks since they don't have any defenses of their own, and they're directly on the coast. So aircraft will always reach them first, even if they're going to attack anywhere else. And so what I've done is right next to them, I've set up a squadron of nothing but Hurricanes. And their main job is if I ever see a large bomber formation anywhere around here, they scramble and just hang out over the radar at Eastbourne. And they just kind of sit there and they don't really do much most of the time. And if we do intercept the bombers, we send these guys out to get them. And then they'll hit the bombers and shoot them all down, come back, land, rearm, refit, and then if we see more bombers, we send them up to hang out over Curly. While there's Spitfires in the back, because the Spitfires are actually very quick planes. You can count on them to get here before most fighter planes will. And their main job is to do things such as scouting and fighter sweeps of enemy bomber formations. I'll show you this later, but such as if the radar picks up a contact, typically I'll scramble my Spitfires first and have them rushing out over the radar to about, for these guys it'd be about right here, for these guys it'd be about right here, and they'll just fly out here and see what's up, see if it's Stukas, bombers, heavy bombers, which are the HE-111s, or fighters. And if it's fighters, they'll engage. If it's Stukas, they'll definitely engage, and if it's bombers, they'll probably try and shoot down like 3 or 4 before they run out of ammunition, and then they have to RTB. And now you're probably wondering, what the hell are these guys doing up here, and why are they flashing green? That's because 4 of them are training right now. This is my training squadron. Excuse me. I've set them up with the cheapest aircraft in the game, and up in the north, and their main job is to create reservists. And reservists are pilots which don't need training when one of these guys happens to get his ass blown off by Fritz. And so reservists go into here. They've so far produced about 20 reservists. You can use reservists to make new squadrons, to replace dead people, in squadrons. And in general, what they do is they make it so that these squadrons don't have to sit around because poor Frankie here doesn't know how to fly his plane, and then gets shot up and I'll die because they can't take off for some reason if one guy doesn't know how to take off. And so these guys all just get Hawker Hurricanes, and also they can double as a last line of defense. But the main thing is they train as pilots, and then you can go into them like this. Just say, you guys are all going to the reserves. Get a new recruit, new recruit, give him a hurricane, give him a hurricane, give him a hurricane, give him a hurricane. And there. Now they're recruits in training, and they don't have to train on the front line. Also, I think there's a way to rename them, and I'm going to investigate this right now. Aha! So there's our wonderful pilot, Anti-Fritz. So yes, you can rename your pilots like that. So if you ever want to do anything awesome like that, feel free to personalize your squadrons all you want, so that you can laugh and cry immensely when they burn up in a ball of flame and have to run away. Alright, and this game has 2 time phases. A daytime, which is when the screen is bright, and a nighttime, which is when the screen is dark. like this. During the night, the Germans typically won't do much, as I've seen in the beginning stages, before the Battle of Britain officially begins. And mostly it'll just be, if anything, one large bomber formation that comes to try and hit something. Maybe an airfield, maybe a radar base. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. It's just one large bomber formation of about 16 bombers and 8 fighters. They can be somewhat easily dispatched. Well, they can be dispatched, but it's not too hard, really, if you have this set up correctly. And onto these little cloud-looking blobs. If you've been super observant, you'll see that when I talked about AA guns, I mentioned this was London. Yes, all these little cloud-looking blobs are super high-definition cities. That is exactly what cities in London look like. There is no other form of city that looks anything better than that at all. What are you talking about? Anyway, so you have to protect these cities from things like German bombs. And that's about it, actually. Because if they get bombed, they can't pay taxes. And if they can't pay taxes, you can't buy things like Hurricanes or Spitfires. And I really don't like it when my pilots can't fly. Alright, on to the morning. Waiting. Waiting is a big part of this game. So is hoping your pilots don't die. Oh yeah, while we wait, I should mention, I like to always keep a reserve of at least one squadron of aircraft up there, because that makes it very easy to replace these squadrons when they have heavy losses and keep them continuously flying. So much so that if it was be measured in real time, it would probably be about a 5-minute delay of, I don't know, people. Like a literal 5-minute delay. Let me rephrase this. It's less than a few seconds for them to get refitted, rearmed, and let's say this guy dies. I take a Spitfire from this pool, put it down here, take a reservist from here, put it down here, that squadron's ready to go again at full strength. Alright. Let's see if our radar picks up anything. Where are you, Fritz? That's not British. It's German. Alright. As you can see, I don't have radar up here, so I will occasionally scramble a squadron to go do a recce over here. Just make sure no one's doing anything. You can direct your squadrons like that. Just click and drag where you want them to go. And I typically send them a flight plan that brings them back around near their So now you can see I've directed that squadron away. There's no squadron there, so I'll scramble the 603rd to go check it out. And since they're also close by, they can typically kind of piggyback around. And these guys can come back and land. And we just kind of pray that it's nothing too large. I might have actually done this kind of wrong. Alright. Oh, that's not good. Alright, what you're about to watch is my radar at Portland is about to get completely and totally destroyed. So I'm gonna assume that they're attacking nothing but radar right now. Try and get most everyone scrambled. But my radar at Portland is about to get really smashed. So this is a fighter group, and God knows how they got past my radar from out there. But I'm going to ignore the Stuka group now. There's nothing I can do to save them. They're going to shoot up that airfield, but there's not really much they can do. This is only 4 fighter planes. So now I'm going to show you how to dogfight somewhat effectively, after I've horribly botched the campaign screen. God. So Spitfires are what you always want to take Messerschmitt 109s on. You can always tell a fighter group, or any group for that matter, by its lettering. JG is a Jagergruppen, a hunter group, and they're fighters. STG is a Stuka-Gruppen, those are Stukas. And KG are Kriegsgruppen, or Kriegsgruppen, or Kampfgruppen or something. I don't know. There's a lot of angry K words in German. Now, this squadron isn't the most experienced, but they do have 4 pilots who have some experience, and so they'll be leading today. Alright, so here are the 4 German planes. They're over here. I'm gonna find Keith Walker. Alright, so that's Keith. Falkland Emery will be his wingman. Who are you? Anti-Fritz. Anti-Fritz is actually going to follow Bailey Fitzgerald, since Bailey has a star. Alfred Edmonds is being followed by Rushton Hindrup. And yep, that's all good. Alright. So now I've got them separated into little attack flights. 2 per each German plane. And then I just kind of let them do their thing.
Confirm. Jerry's! At 12 o'clock! Jerry's! 12 o'clock!
Intriguing observation, Captain. And so then I just kind of let them go at it. I check right before here to make sure they're not about to, you know, fly directly into someone's guns. I think I'll switch these
Roger
two.
that!
That's about it, really. And typically the combined fire of all these Spitfires is enough to take down someone.
I'm hit! Got one!
And as soon as you hear that got one, immediately assign him to the person who is most threatening to anyone at that moment.
I've got one! I'm hit! Got one!
And there, that's all of them. And most of the time, the combined weight of fire from these 2 Spitfires behind them instead of 1 will knock down any Messerschmitt before it has time to get a Spitfire if it levels out. So yeah. I would have loved to show you us taking on the Stukas, but I can't, unfortunately, because they snuck around us because they're bastards. And they're bombing my radar, which is going to cost a bit. But we may or may not be able to intercept them with the 312. I really do hope my radar makes it through. Nope. That's only going to cost 135 pounds. So what are we going to do? The only thing we can do. Get some sweet revenge. Come here, you bastards. There's 9 of them. What does that mean? It means we're about to kill 18 Germans. Now you may wonder, where's the strategy in this? Well, the strategy in this is, assign them any target you please in groups of 2. And they will pretty much rip these Germans a new one
Bombers
every
at
time.
1 o'clock!
And I'll just try and fast forward through this. I typically just pick 4, the leading 3 planes and these 4. By the way, Stukas, as some people have been seen to not know, are dive bombers. They're not fighter planes. So don't ever really worry about it when the Stukas turn. They're not going to shoot you down unless you sit directly behind one and don't move. Because they do have tail gunners from the Devil. And that's about it.
I got one! Got one!
And typically the second you see one of these little crosshairs disappear, check your planes, make sure they all still have targets. Try and make sure pilots aren't running away. Because these Stukas will go down pretty fast.
I got one!
See, like here, these guys don't have any targets. This is really effective for things like getting the pilots experience. Since Stukas typically aren't that deadly. Oh. This guy's about to experience the uncomfortable pain of being shot at by 6 Spitfires. But it's really great for leveling them up if they learn how to fly their airplanes in combat without actually the danger of getting shot down, if you know what you're doing. If you lose a plane to Stukas, you're doing something wrong. Alright, so 312 will go back there. And we'll repair this. We'll save up to repair this air base. Radar. Jesus. And we'll leave this guy a little bit unrepaired because he's still operational. They're still good to go. So yeah, they've been damaged a little bit, but so what? The main concern now is my radar has been knocked out. So what does this mean? It means I'm pretty much blind to attacks over here. Also, you want to be really careful when you send squadrons out to Recce, because they will effectively be out of action for that area. So I would recommend that when you do scramble a squadron, you scramble it only to do local reconnaissance, such as 603rd is only going to go out, and basically make sure no one's doing anything over or around the radar site. And they're going to land, rearm, and refuel. And while they might not have lost a lot of fuel, the main idea behind this is keeping them with enough fuel so that if I do have to scramble them because someone shows up that we didn't see on our initial thing, we have enough fuel to take off and comfortably engage them without much risk. I believe that's a fighter group. That's going this way. So we'll also scramble the 603rd. And yeah, 4 more enemy planes. Not that hard. I'll just fast forward through this one. Most of the time it'll even work, even if you don't bother to split them up in a squadron. The combined weight of 2 Spitfires firing will typically rip any German to pieces.
Confirm.
So yeah, let's go. Here we go.
Jerry's 1 o'clock.
Alright. Who shot down who?
I'm hit.
And he's no longer at a target.
He goes down.
There we go. And that's all of them. Now, you won't see them now because I haven't gotten far enough into this game. But there are also 2 other types of planes in here. There's a ME-110 heavy fighter bomber. It's dual engined, turns a little bit wider than the ME-109, and has a powerful frontal cannon, or at least it should, with a tail gunner. I haven't seen it in the game yet, but I do recognize it has a sprite in here. And I know from history that historically they were designed to kill bombers and be powerful escorts. And they had, I think it was 4 machine guns and 4 cannons in the front. They were basically beasts of the sky. If you got in front of one, you exploded. And they had tail gunners. Not as amazing tail gunners, but they had tail gunners. And also, I think I saw some Dorniers in here instead of some Heinkels, which are different bombers, and I don't know the historical characteristics of those. They weren't as popular. So once again, just doing some local reconnaissance. Saving up cash to fix that damn thing. And I'm really waiting for a bomber, because they're scrambling, right? Really waiting for a bomber fleet. That's not good. They're most likely headed over this way. Yep. Yep. Damn it, JG-51. Alright, so we've got some pretty badly knocked up pilots, but they should be okay to fight, I hope. We may or may not lose a few pilots here. And by lose a few pilots, I mean they might have to bail out. But that's the wonderful thing about having reserve aircraft. Even if they have to bail out, they're not really going to be able to fight for that long. It'll literally be, in this case, bail out, land at the airbase, grab the next available plane, And I mean, you do have some days like this where you kind of just look at your planes, you're just like, we're going to lose some people.
Jerry's 12 o'clock. I got hit.
At the same time, you've got those parts where, you know, you just,
I'm hit.
you got them.
I'm hit.
And
I'm on
somebody's
fire.
going to have to
I'm
bail
hit.
out. Like this guy, he's not going to make it.
Bailing
I'm
out.
dropping him.
Going
I may
down.
even have to replace this entire squadron, but hey, I've got the planes for it. It's not that bad.
I got my evade. Evade. Roger that, squadron leader. I'm on fire. I'm on fire.
But yeah, you can. I only lost one plane, so that guy, he's gonna RTB, which means we need to give him 45 minutes to float down from this guy, cursing, undoubtedly, since he's the only one who got shot down. Noob. And have the 603rd pretty much immediately land. Alright. So I'm pretty sure that's what our radar picked up. I am a little bit nervous though because there we go. That's a Stuka group. I have no idea how we spotted them. But I'm gonna scramble the Hurricanes to deal with them, because Hurricanes can deal with... Never mind. That's a bomber group over there, so I'll scramble the Hurricanes to deal with them. And he gets a Spitfire. And there we are. We have enough for that. I can queue something without actually needing to have the money. So in about when we earn 2 pounds, I'll produce another Spitfire. And I can launch these guys. And I'll send them out here in a preventive measure over the airfield. And I'll send these Hurricanes to intercept the bomber group. And they'll get there first. Hurricanes are great when facing bombers. And especially with these 2 stars that they get. Because once they get experienced, they begin doing some cool stuff, like they know how to attack at 3 or 9 o'clock, and they know how to do this automatically. So I just tell them, hey, go get them. What do? They go get them. Now, this is a finger 4 formation. It's a V formation. It was actually originally invented by the Luftwaffe, I believe, but I like to rearrange it a bit. By clicking and dragging here, you can see which side the plane's going to form on. I like to form them on the inside. And then have the flight leader all attack the same plane if they're both experienced, which they are. And you'll see these planes form to more of a diamond. And this is basically, since there's no friendly fire in the game, this maximizes the firepower over an area. So these planes basically fly in straight. Now, they may or may not do one head-on pass. Alright, they don't. But you'll see they'll all break away, and those of you who don't know what's going on right now are wondering, what the hell are they doing? Well, they're coming in from 3 o'clock. And those 3 planes didn't take a single hit. For the reason that their pilots know how to fly in combat with the bomber formation. Now, I don't really know what these guys are doing, but whatever. I'm going to have them loop back and around. So I'm going to have them do kind of a almost serpentine. And what they're going to do is they're going to attack this side of the formation. And so they'll fly up alongside. And you'll see, once again, they're breaking in to come in between the guns which fire here and here. And since Hurricanes have such powerful guns, they can typically rip the bomber to pieces before the thing ever gets a shot at them when they pull away. This is more of a Spitfire tactic. Actually, it really helps when you engage bombers with Spitfires because they'll dodge out the bullets, and Spitfires are a little bit weaker with their armor, and have a few less bullets and are a little bit more nimble. So they're actually greatly helped by this. With their lack of firepower and armor, they're not that great as bombers, but this helps them maximize their killing ability. Alright. Alright, and you can pretty much just repeat this throughout the whole whatever it's called. Formation. And you can even do this with bigger formations. You can,
Confirm.
line them up, and you just start from one side and work your way over. That should be about it, and at the end of the day, you just move your pilots back to their air bases. And everyone slowly gains their stars. Alright, that should be about it. I'm gonna go engage these Stukas, but before I do that, I'll probably just conclude the video. That's most of everything. Thanks. If there's any questions or comments or anything you wanted answered, you can ask me in the comments section below this video, and thanks for watching, guys. That's it. Auf Wiedersehen.